Now we are live. As I always get people to do in the start is like tell me if the audio is okay because I usually have mine too low or something like that. And I did forget to check that before we even hit the live button. So I will be up to the chat to let us know. Gwen, you can say hello to everyone there as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gwen.
Yeah, so Gwen, you might as well jump straight in and introduce yourself. Everyone's probably, anyone that's been to the channel before will have known too much about me. Probably too much in depth, especially if they've caught any of the streams where I've been drinking on. So, yeah, please tell us a bit of your background, what you do every day. And obviously, if you're here from my side of YouTube, make sure you go over and subscribe on Faraday Academy as well.
Yeah, so I'm Gwen. I run the channel of Faraday Academy, and I do mostly JavaScript and Python content. So I work in Django and different JavaScript frameworks. So that's generally the content that I've been making. And I really enjoy working in Django. So I'm really excited to be doing this live stream here. Also, outside of content creation, I do consulting. So that's where I build a lot of Django apps, is because Django gives me so many things out of the box to use, especially when I'm building small to medium applications for startups or various businesses who don't have a full development team. So yeah, and we'll get into some of that as we're building out this Django app.
Awesome. Yeah. So, and are you taking consulting work if there's people on the stream? I'm conscious. I know a lot of people jump in from my side of things, from the business side of things, just to see what I'm talking about. So, if there's anyone looking to get some consulting work on this, can they reach out to you?
I am so booked right now. Sorry, until the
That's a
end of the
good
year.
way to be.
Yeah, I have too many things on my plate right now. I'm just trying to, process everything. So if you've emailed me or reached out to me, I'm sorry if I haven't gotten back to you yet. I'm getting to all of my emails as quickly as I can.
Awesome. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Well, I'll leave some of the more probing questions probably till the end, and I'll let you, jump in to the code, I guess.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think this repo, this README that I created might be in your description, but I'll post it in the chat just in case.
Yeah, I added it into description. I pinged it a little bit earlier, but throw it in again just in case it's lost already with people talking.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and feel free to stop me or say something if you have a question or if someone in the chat has a question.
Yeah, I'm going to probably jump in and out as the voice of the chat because you'll probably be too focused on the screen to see what's going on there. So I'll be your eyes for that.
Okay. Oh, people are asking you to increase your volume.
Okay, let me work on that then.
Oh yeah, I need to screen share. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, I'm working on my volume. I should have stuff here.
All right. This should be good.
How is the volume now? I'm probably clipping. We'll see. Anyway.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Is it sharing?
I will. There you go.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So this is the repo that I just shared in the chat. Oh yeah, they say you're clipping, but I'll let you figure that out while I start. So this is the repo that I shared in the chat. I tried to make it as complete as possible about all the steps that I'm going to take to build out a Django app today. And so one thing that I realized recently is that a lot of people think it's intimidating to start a Django app because there are, I guess, 12 or 15 steps to really get a good base for the app set up. Because Django provides you with so many things, sometimes you have to just set a bunch of config options at the beginning. But it's really not that intimidating if you just take it step by step. So I tried to break down the steps as much as possible. And a few of these steps are just things that I've noticed or added in from building so many Django apps now. things that I just like to, do up front that make it easier for me to build. So, okay, so I'm going to start with just the first steps and kind of go down the list. So the first thing is that I have Python 3 and Postgres running. I am using Postgres for this tutorial. It is the recommended database for Django. Now you can absolutely use any other database you want. It has instructions for MySQL. By default, it automatically creates a SQLite database, so you don't even have to do any config if you want the SQLite. But there are a few issues and things that you run into later on with the SQLite database. So it's pretty easy to set up Postgres. So I just use it by default in all my projects now. If you wanted Mongo or some kind of NoSQL database, that's also surprisingly easy to set up in Django as well. But generally, I just have the most success, I guess, with Postgres, and it's the recommended way to build Django apps. So I have this, okay. In my terminal, you can see I have Python, see what version. Okay, so I'm using 3.6.5. That's okay for right now. I use pyenv to change my environments, but I'll just keep 3.6.5, but you can use 3.8 or whatever, as long as it's version 3, that's good. And I also have Django installed already. And so when you install Django, it gives you this command, Django admin. And that's what you're going to use to start or to bootstrap a Django project. It's similar to, if you install a generator or something like that. Django is such a robust framework. It does a lot of things for you. It sets up a whole bunch of things for you, even configuration and all that stuff. So if you've installed Django on your system, you'll have this Django admin command. And so I'm going to go ahead and use this Django admin command to start a project. So, you're back.
You're all right. It's just me messing with this again. I think I'm still having some audio issues, but I was going to ask for the difference between Django and I've actually only ever used Flask. So what would be the major differences?
So one second, Praveen said just like create React app. Yeah, it's just like that, only I think it's more prolific. Like I've never seen a Django project started without Django admin. Create React app is kind of optional. But yeah, Django admin bootstraps it because you need some of the configuration that it sets up to run Django. But yeah, what you were saying, sorry, what were you saying?
Flask versus something like Django.
Oh yeah, so I always used Flask in the past too. And I don't know, when I was younger in my development career, I've been a professional 5 years now, just over 5 years. And I set up everything myself. It's very nice actually for microservices and that kind of thing. But now that I work with more different clients and especially startups, Django just gives me so many things out of the box that I just don't have to configure. It's so much quicker to develop now. So it gives me Auth, which is super useful. It gives me an admin interface so clients can log in, not on the user side of the app, but it just gives me an admin interface out of the box. It gives me the ORM to interact with the database and so much more than that. And then with Django REST framework as well, it makes it easier for me to build REST APIs. Yeah, so I'd say it just gives me so much more out of the box, but that's just typical of a batteries included framework versus, a micro framework. I think it's called a micro framework with Flask.
For sure. Yeah, it makes sense.
And yeah, I guess I'm also, aside from it being better for my clients, I also got a little bit burned out setting up the same thing over and over again in
As
Flask
you would, or
apps.
copy and pasting.
Yeah. It's like, I have to do authentication. And then Also, Flask has its own frameworks to use for certain things. Like Flask has the Eve framework if you're going to be building an API with Mongo, and a bunch of different frameworks to use with Flask. So sometimes you're setting up framework on top of framework, and that's kind of even more configuration, even more work to like get everything working together. So in that case, unless you're building some small microservices, I really think Django is something to look into.
Nice. Sorry, I took you off on a tangent there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. So let's see. Django admin start project. Oh yeah, I did get kind of distracted. So I'm going to, I wrote the command here. That's convenient. So I'm going to call it CodoCats to kind of fit in with the theme of this channel. I was trying to make a logo, but I didn't make it in time because I'm not that good at making logos, but I was trying to make the branding fit with the channel. So maybe after the stream, I can do that. Okay, so I'm going to start the project. And what that does is, oops, I have to CD into, these are just random old Django projects that I've worked on. Okay, so now I'm in the directory. It created basically a folder for all the settings, which it confusingly calls the same thing as the parent folder here, but I'm going to change this name in a second. And then this manage.py file is basically the utility file that Django creates for me that will run every single Django command from running migrations to running the server to everything. So I use this file for all the Django utilities. And that's why it's important to start the project with, with Django start project. So I'm going to open this in VS Code. Oh, it opened on my other monitor. Let's see, 1 second.
No worries. I have the same problem. I have a big monitor, and so when it gets on that, it's a 49-inch monitor, so you can't see anything if I share.
Yeah. I have that problem when I record sometimes. They're all different sizes.
Yeah. Okay,
so here is the repo. I'm going to zoom in one more. And this is the main folder with all of the configs. So the settings.py file, all the URLs, the base URLs for the application. I'm going to get rid of all that. Okay. And then, of course, this main file that I don't think I'm going to touch at all. Yeah. So the first thing that I'm going to do is some of the setup and configuration. So before I ever run this project, I'm going to be installing dependencies and doing different things that I don't want to pollute my global namespace. So I need to create a virtual environment. Now you can use the virtual env package from Python or a whole bunch of other things. I think the easiest way to do it is just use the new built-in Python virtual environments. So I'm going to run that command to create. This basically creates a virtual environment, venv, with the name of venv. So now if I look in my folder, there's this new folder called venv, and that's my virtual environment. So I can just go into my virtual environment using source vn bin activate. And this is just how I happen to set up my terminal, that I'm in my venv or my virtual environment. It shows me there. Okay, so now if I have to install anything, like I'll be installing Django REST framework. And so I can install it in my virtual environment. So the next thing I did number 4. By the way, this is in this repo that I'm at is in the description below. So the next thing is that like I said, the confusing name CodoCats is the name of my project. Let's see. It's the name of my project but it's also the name of my configuration folder. So it's like I have a CodeCats folder inside of a CodeCats folder, which is just so confusing for me. So every single project, I always rename this inner folder, and you can absolutely, of course, you can name it whatever you want. You just have to change a couple things. So I just call this config. It's easier. And then my main project outside is CodeCats, and then I have a configuration folder, which is always easier for me to find and navigate around. So now I have to search my project. Anytime it says CodeCats, I have to change that to the name config. So I'm just going to search here for CodeCats. And I can see it's a few times. I don't have to worry about anything in venv here. But I do want to change any reference in my settings.py file here. So I'm going to go ahead and change. Actually, I'm just going to search in this file. So I'm going to look for CodeCats and then replace that with config, change all instances. And now in my manage.py file, I'll do this again, change this to config. ASGI, I'm not actually going to be deploying, so I won't be using this file, but just to make this consistent, I'll also change that to config. Oh, it's in the comments here. Oh. Okay, get rid of that. And then this file, okay. So I think config. Okay, and then that's just my linter complaining, my flake8 linter. Okay, so now I have the settings folder set up, and in urls.py, everything is good. And now I'm going to set up Django, or not Django, I'm going to set up Postgres. Connor, most of the code I write looks like it was written by cats. All right. Thanks for joining the stream, by the way, Connor. Okay, so default, yeah, so this is what I'm going to be setting up. And I just wrote this out already because this is just a bunch of boilerplate. But if you follow the directions in starting a Django app in the documentation, it basically gives you different ways to set up different databases. And I basically need this package installed to use Postgres. So it's pretty straightforward. And you'll keep coming back to settings if you use to this settings.py file if you use Django, because basically all of your configuration settings are in this file. Let me find, not templates, let me find database. So here's the database. Like I said, the default is SQLite 3 that it sets up for me. But I don't want to use SQLite 3, so I'm going to just erase this whole thing. And let me indent properly. Okay, and then I have the name of my database, the user. I'm not going to give it a password just for simplicity. The host is localhost. If you are building a production application, you'll probably have several different settings files, and every time you run the server, you can point to a specific settings file. But settings.py is the default name, so I'm just going to leave one file because I'm only running this locally. I'm using VS Code. Obviously, I have a couple plugins, but yeah, just plain old VS Code. So let me try to run this because it's going to prompt me to install this package for my database now, which is what I want to install. So let me try to run the server, even though I'm not ready to run it. Run server. And like you see, I run Python, so it's just a regular Python command. And of course, Python on my system, this Python command is pointing to Python 3. It shouldn't be run with Python 2. I'm not sure. You know, Python 3 has been out for 12 or 13 years already. No reason to use Python 2. Anyway, so manage.py is that file I referenced, the utility file, and then I have all these commands that I can run through that file. So run server is one of them. So if I run server, it says couldn't import Django. Am I sure it's available on my path? That's weird. Pip install Django? All right, so maybe when I went
That's the
into
fun
my
in live coding.
yeah. All right, so that's installing. I thought it was going to tell me that I had to install the database package. Okay, so I got that. So now let me do pip install. I probably have it up here. What is it? PSY psycho. I call it psycho PG, but it's probably not called that. Psycho. Trying to hit up, but I guess it's not there. So I think that's it. Could not find a version that installs no matching distributions found for Psycho PG2. Okay, let me look up install Postgres with Django. And just go to a random tutorial. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Maybe I spelled it wrong. Oh yeah, I added an extra H. Okay, that was just me. Pip install. Okay. And then I'll put these in my requirements file. Yeah, thanks, Code Django. Might be due to switch virtual environment. Yeah. Okay, so I have that installed now. So I don't want to run the app quite yet. I just wanted to go ahead and install those. And oh yeah, because I'm using the regular pip, I need to do a pip freeze to create the requirements.txt file. And now I'm going to, so there's some configuration that I need to do for the database real quick. But first, before I run any database migrations, I want to set up my custom user model so I'm not adding users without creating the custom user model. So, oh, let me go back. Lost my page. So why do I want to do this? So Django by default gives you a user model, which is awesome. How did I resolve it? How did I resolve what? If you're talking about the package install, I just spelled it incorrectly. So Django gives me an awesome user model out of the box that I can use, but the authentication is username and password. And I want people to authenticate with email and password. So I have to do a little bit of custom coding to change that. And so, yeah, so here are the steps basically. So I need to first create an app. So I'm going to create an app called users. I know it's confusing because I'm working on this. Technically, it's an app, but Django calls my whole app that I'm building a project. And then inside of the project, there are as many apps as you want to create. For example, here, I have a landing page for people to see my API routes. And then I have this API called API/breeds, so people can get cat breeds via a RESTful API. So I'm going to create an app for these cat breeds so I can have all of my models, endpoints, everything to do with cat breeds will be inside of one app. I have a static landing page that I'm building, so I'm going to create another app for that. And then I'm going to create a users app just to kind of demonstrate how users would work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create an app. And the first thing I'm going to do, so by default, if you create an app, it's going to be in the root directory here. But as you create more apps, it really clutters up your directory. It's hard to navigate. So what I find is easier is I create an apps folder inside of here. So I'm going to create a folder called apps. And then now I have, I guess I could just create it inside of the, inside of VS Code here. And then just one file that I need by default is this init.py file. And that's just, you're going to see it in a minute, but just so I can reference this like a package, I can do apps.folder_name.filename and kind of navigate around the files. I basically need an empty init.py file. And you'll see that in any kind of Python project if you're building Flask apps or anything. Okay, so now I need to make a directory inside of apps called, users. And now I'm going to use Django to create an app for me. Django's manage.py file to create, it's called start app. And then I need to give it the name of the app. So the name of the app will be users, and I have to tell it what folder to put in. The folder already has to be created if you're not using the root folder. So that's why I created a new folder here. So I'm going to do apps/users. And that looks good. Okay, no errors, no output is a good thing, right? So now I see that I have, let me get out of here. Okay, now I see I have this users folder, and this is a Django app that's created for me. So it creates a migrations file for the migrations folder for the database, and then it creates a couple files, but it doesn't really give me anything substantial here. It just gives me like the basic import, and then I have to kind of build the rest of the code myself. So with users, I'm going to start in models, the models.py file. Let's see. Yeah, thanks for posting the link. So I'm going to start in the models.py file. And like I clicked on the Django project here. So the Django docs are actually really good. Not actually, as if I thought they would be bad, but they are really good documentation because the Django API is so big. The Django project does so many things. So without good documentation, it would be really stressful to work in Django. But the documentation is good. And so basically, what you need to do to create users that log in with email versus a username is create basically a custom user manager. And I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but basically you set up the email address, and basically I thought there was another config option here, but I guess not. But basically you're setting the email address to be the default. And oh yeah, here it is. And when you create the actual user class, so this is the actual model for the database, the user model, you set the username field to be email instead of username. And all of this code is just to do that. So I'm going to grab all of this code and then update it a little bit. So I'm going to copy this. And okay. Is everyone good so far?
I think everyone's okay.
Okay. Is it making sense?
Yeah. I didn't realize the Django docs were so great that you could actually just grab chunks of code and have so much done.
Yeah. It's really good, and especially for things like the user manager. Like, is anyone really going to memorize all of this code here? No, they're not. So it is nice that you have all these big chunks of code, because there's a lot of configuration for certain things that you will do. And I set up a custom user for every single app. In fact, I think somewhere in these Django docs, it recommends setting up a custom user. and it recommends setting up the user first, which is why I put it first. It might not be apparent right now, like, why are you setting up the user before we even set up the app? But I want to, oh, good, Code Stacker. So I want to do this first before I do any of the database migrations, so that, because otherwise Django will use its own user class, and then I might have trouble later, like switching over to my custom user class, or it will be more difficult later. So if that makes sense. So I don't
Absolutely. That's why I use MongoDB. so I can just mutate things.
Do whatever you
I
want. No migrations. Well, actually you can do migrations, but okay. So I do rename this because my sounds a little bit, I don't know, juvenile or not like a real app. So I always say custom user manager, and I think I'll just call this user. User is fine. So now I have to reference the right field. Now I have to see what fields do I want on a user. So I actually forgot to put this. I have my schema down here. I forgot to put user in my schema. But basically, I just want email, and I don't want date of birth even. Email is fine. And I have email required fields. I'm going to get rid of this because, oops, I'm hitting the wrong key. I'm going to get rid of this. And then these are just like boilerplate things that I'm going to leave alone. This string option is very important to be able to see the email, especially in the admin area. So I'm going to leave that alone. Is admin, and yeah, is admin, and I thought it was is staff. But anyway, is admin means that I have access to the admin area, and I'm an administrator, of course. So when I create a super user, this flag will be turned on to true. So let's see. Everything else looks okay. Yeah, like I said, just out of the box, copying from the documentation. Oh, let me get rid of date of birth here. So let me, date of birth. Yeah, so when I create the super user, I don't want that. So let me see if there are any more instances. Yeah, so
I think it's worth noting that earlier on today we were actually talking in the Discord about how hellish it is to set up authentication in Express from scratch. It's just so painful. So having something like this is super valuable.
yeah, and what's nice about Django is that you can do the session authentication with the regular Django framework. And if you install Django REST framework on top of Django, then it also gives you JWTs out of the box too. So you can
nice.
choose the type of authentication. Also recently, I somewhat painfully learned how to do a GitHub auth. So I did that in a Django framework, and I was doing it the hard way at first, and then I set it up custom myself, and that really wasn't that hard to do either. Yeah, Django's pretty nice to work with. What was I doing? Oh yeah, date of birth. Why are there so many date of births everywhere? Okay, get rid of that. Get rid of that. Where's the other one? Okay. Okay, I could do name or something, but I'm not too worried about it right now. So one thing though is that this user class that I'm creating with the email, this is generally just for a few required fields and things related to authentication. If you want, a lot of user information, like their Facebook URL, Twitter profile, bio, all of that stuff, generally you create a separate class for that. So this class is called user, and then I would, down here, I'd create something like class user profile, and that would have all the extra information because I don't want to clutter up my authentication class with all of that extra stuff. Also, I'll be using the user profile for a lot more things. Yeah, so I just keep authentication separate in the user class, and that's also the pattern that's recommended in the Django documentation. Okay, so I took a while doing that. Let's see. Let me remember what step. Oh, yeah. So because I'm using a custom authentication class now, I need to go into my settings and tell it that I don't want to use the default authentication. So not authentication. I don't want to use the default user class. I'm not doing authentication right now. So, but let's see. User. So I think, what is it? Auth. I don't think it's in here. Yeah, I have to add this. So this is just an option that I can add. And I don't know. I think I'll add it right here. Maybe above. So I'll add the auth user model, which is in my users app that I created, .user. And now I have to tell Django about this app. So I have to go up here. Roshan, am I going to give a full course? Yes, but I'm planning on making a full Django course in December because I have two Vue.js courses that I have to launch first. But yeah, I enjoy Django and Django REST Framework so much, so I'm excited to make a more, I guess, robust course about this. Okay, so in installed apps, Django gives me these installed apps out of the box, like for auth and the admin area and sessions, which I'm not going to use anyway, but could remove that. But then my custom apps, I can just add at the bottom here. So the app that I just created, which is users. So I could just do users if I had it in the root folder, but since it's inside of this apps folder I created, and this is why I needed the init.py file, because I can do apps.users now. And I'll put this comma dangle. So I reference this and tell Django, hey, there's an app inside of apps.users. And Django finds that app because in this apps.py file, it says the name of the app is users here. So this is basically the name that Django uses when you're referencing that application. Okay, so now I have the user model, everything all set up. Until I get errors, then I'll try to fix this. But now for Postgres, because I am using Postgres, and Postgres, yes, it's a Vue 3 course. I'm going to be doing almost all Vue, actually probably entirely Vue 3 from now on. Mostly waiting for the ecosystem to update to do more Vue 3. But yeah, I don't see any reason to continue using Vue 2 as Vue 3 is rapidly progressing right now. So, okay, so I'm going to create a database. And this part is really just in Postgres, because if you run this app, so if you're used to Mongo, you know that the database, the first time Mongo looks for the database, if it doesn't see a database, it will just create it for you. Well, Postgres won't do that. So you have to create your own database. If you have a database client, you can do this in the client. You can do this in the terminal. You can, wherever you want to create the database, you can. But the name here has to match, of course, the name that you're looking for in your Django app. So my name is koducat for my database. And I'm going to create database koducat. And I'm going to do this in the terminal. So this is just how I do it. You can use a client, like I said, but this is just the easiest way for me. So I'm going to create a database called koducat. Oh, that's right. I tried to create it earlier to get ready for this. So actually, it seems like I already have a database called koducat. So I'm just going to use the database, but I did write out the instructions here. So after that, you would create a user, you would grant privileges to that user, and then you are all set up. So with the user, with the database, and you grant privileges to the user to use that database, and then you can run migrations. So I forgot I already did that. Okay, so now I can run migrations, which basically will create first I have to make the migration. Since I made a custom user, I need to do python manage.py make migrations. And that created the migration for my custom user. And you can always look at the migrations inside of these migration folders in every single app. Do you prefer Django or Node.js? So I don't think the comparison is Node.js versus Django, but I definitely prefer Python. It's just my favorite language. I'm biased. Worse than bringing up politics. But there are some batteries included frameworks for Node. I think Sails and some other ones, but none that I have really liked so far. Maybe if I was, tried them out more or found one I liked. I'm not against any framework in particular. I just really like what Django provides, and that I get to work in Python, which is nice for handling data and doing other things. Okay, so this migration file, and some people seem to be scared of migration files because they look crazy, but this is just auto-created by Django. You can create your own custom migrations if, say, a client or you need to create certain things in the database initially for whatever the client needs. You can create your own migrations here, and it's just creating functions, basically functions that enter information into the database or remove information or change information. So yeah, anyway, so this is saying that it's going to create a user table with all these fields on it, basically. So that's the migration. Now I have to run the migrations, and this is going to actually run a lot of migrations for me. So python manage.py, and then I can do migrate. If you start typing, I'm losing my voice now. 1 second.
Sorry, I've lots of practice. I never lose my voice, I think, at this stage.
Okay, that's better. I went to the dentist earlier, so my mouth is still feeling weird.
No, that's a disaster.
Yeah. I've been putting it off, and I was like, no, I need to go. COVID or not COVID, I still have to take care of my teeth. Anyway, so with migrate here, this basically runs all of the migrations and sets up the database and the tables for me. And I only have one migration here, but there are actually a lot that Django already has built in that come out of the box. So it's going to run a whole bunch of migrations. So, it didn't, let's see. It didn't like whatever I was doing. So let me see. Inconsistent migration history. Migration admin 001 initial is applied before its dependency users 001 initial on database default. Okay, so sometimes this happens where I've never had it happen right away though, but sometimes this happens where one migration depends on another migration. You can see this user migration doesn't depend on any other migration here. So I'm going to try running just the users migration first. So I'm going to just run the migration for the users app. I could specify an exact migration or just the first 4 letters. You can specify just the 4 numbers, yeah. Just the first 4 numbers of it, but I only have one migration. I'm just going to say run all migrations in the users app. So I'm going to do that. Okay, admin 001 initial is applied before its dependency users 001 initial on database default. Okay, so now it's getting my migrations all out of order. So I wonder, what am I going to do? because that admin migration is built into Django already. Hi, nobodies. How are you? So I could get rid of this migration here because I haven't run it yet. So it's only a file that's been generated for me. So I could try running migrate dependency app with no migrations. Okay, never mind. So I do need to make migrations again to recreate that file I just deleted. So I made the migration. And now if I do migrate, and I wonder if I can do admin. No, it's, I wonder. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, I think I should have run the migrations before I created the user actually. So what I could do is undo, so I could undo the auth. No, I think, let me look up migrations, I guess, using Django. So there's migration operations, the API, and then there's using Django. So let's see, the commands migrate. So I'm running the commands. Database specifies database to migrate. I can do a fake migration, fake initial. I think actually I'm not going to get an answer in the documentation. So I'm going to copy the error, and I'm doing well, just trying to figure out these migrations. Do you want to help me? Let's see, on database default. Let me, oops. I did open bookmarks. Okay. Here we go. Migrating from Django user model to a custom user model. And I might actually be, you have to clear admin auth content type and sessions from the migration history. I thought I already did this actually. So this will clear all previous migrations for each one of these apps, but I thought actually I didn't need to do that, but let me see. Nope, it's still not liking that. So comment out auth user model in settings. Secondly, comment out or undo your auth model from installed apps. Now you can run these migrations, python manage.py migrate and set auth user model, migrate the auth app, and then apply all migrations, you undo. Okay, so I think I just need to undo this real quick in my settings. So let me comment this out, and then, hi Nirvana, how are you? Messing up my stream. I'm already making errors, so that's okay. So I commented these out, and now let me do another migrate, or let me undo. I thought I had no migrations that were run, but that's okay. Unapplying. Oh, because I tried to migrate them all together. That's right. Okay, never mind. So, all right. So I'm going to undo those migrations, and then I did do a 4-hour stream one day that was basically, it was on a bigger app, and it was basically like me fixing migration histories. It was quite a fun stream. Okay, so...
and then you wonder why people are scared of migration.
Yeah. This isn't most of the time in Django. Trust me, this is... yeah, sometimes you get to hundreds of migration files for a single app. And that's just one app inside of Django. So especially if, okay, so if multiple people are working on a Django app, then sometimes, each person makes new migrations and then it kind of forks. So you have two migrations with the same number, and then you have to kind of merge them in. And yeah, like you said, it's fun stuff. Okay, so now I have to migrate just that one app. So let me do Python manage.py make migrations just for the user's app of oh, I already have the migration there. Okay. So now let me do migrate. Let me do migrate just users. Migrate users. Ah, yes. Okay. And now let me migrate everything else. First. Yeah, apply all the rest of the migrations. Okay. I just did them all in the wrong order. All right, now all my migrations ran fine. Sweet. Okay, I'm just reveling in this for a second. Let me clear that. And thank you, user. Thank you, M. Hazik, for that answer on Stack Overflow. Okay, so now what am I doing? Oh yeah, I set up my database. I ran migrations. I need to create a super user. So we're almost done to where we can run the app. See, it's the next step. One more thing. So I can create a super user. And it works with email address. And you see, if I had created a super user before, oh, I know, never mind. I know why all that migration stuff happened. That was because of me setting up the database first before this stream. Okay, so I just messed myself up, but that was good. So you got to see migrations. And actually the 0 that I put on the end of those migrations, that's to undo a migration, which is, it's nice to have migrations because Django makes it so easy to roll back or go forward, traverse your whole migration history. If you add fields to the table, or you remove fields, or something in your database changes, you create new tables. It's a great thing to have. Okay, so email address, I'm going to let's put Gwen at example.com. My password that I use in all my streams. Okay, super user created successfully. Now I can finally run the app. Okay, and now I can do localhost 8000. And you can see I have a Django app working right now. But the only thing I can use so far is actually going to admin. And now I can log in as my super user that I just created. And this is the admin interface that I was talking about that is so convenient for working with clients. It's almost like the WordPress, like, how you log into the backend in a WordPress site, your own WordPress site, and then, the users or the people, viewing the app just see the static content, but you can log into an admin area. So this is the same thing. So Gwen at example.com, password. Okay. And this is the admin area. So as I create more tables, they'll be available over here. Groups is just something by default that Django gives me. So generally use groups for authentication groups. Maybe you have different levels of users with different levels of privilege, as in like they can access different things in your app. So you can give them a group with different permissions. So that's what the groups are, but I'll be adding more things to this admin area. But this is good that the app is working. So there are going to be 2 parts to this app, and I seem to have already spent an hour, but not quite an hour on the setup, so it doesn't take that much. But also this isn't the most basic setup, but this is a generally good setup for any project, setting up Django, virtual environment, and setting up the user. That's really important.
I think it was great to see how you customized those things as well, because it would have been very easy to just gloss over it and continue.
Yeah, and just from creating so many Django apps, those are like the most important customizations that I've found anyway. So good. I'm glad you liked it. So now I'm going to create more apps for pages and for breeds. So breeds is actually going to be the REST API, and pages, I'm just going to use this actually just for the landing page to serve up the landing page. And I guess it will become more apparent in a second, but it's nice to be able to separate all the different sections of my application into these, or my technically Django project, into these different apps. So let me go ahead and create these two apps real quick. And I'm going to stop my server. And then, oh, hi, Richard. Good to see you. Oh, Nirvana started their own GitHub. Cool. Kodu cats. Let's do, what was I doing? Oh, yeah, Python. Oh, no, that's right. So to start my app, I have this users folder. So I'm going to create the other two folders for my other two apps. So I'm going to create a pages folder. And because it will error if I don't create the folder first. So apps/pages and apps/ what was the other one? Oh, breeds, for the breeds of cats. Okay. I thought we'd be doing a lot more work with the cats this stream, but I think we probably won't get to it till the very end. So let me do the start app. So Python manage.py start app. And I'm going to call this pages, and then say it's located in app/pages. Okay, and now I'll do the same thing with breeds. Okay, so I made those two apps. And now I have pages, and oh, that's cool. It gives me an HTML icon there, and not users. So I have breeds. So it created these two apps for me, and I'm going to deal with pages first. So one thing you'll notice when you start to build Django apps, cat breeds. One thing to notice when you start to build Django apps is there's one file that you almost always use that is not created in here. Unfortunately, most people never use this tests file, but it's still created. But you almost always use a urls.py file, but it's not created by default. So you have to create your own. And I guess that's because they figure you can use this root URLs file as well. But each app will also probably need its own URLs file. So let's see, let me go in order. Okay, so I created apps. Now I'm going to set up URLs for each app. And one thing I do need to do here is add these to my settings. So under apps, just like I added the user app, I need to add, let's see, pages, and then I need to add breeds. Okay, so now I have all my apps set up here. And then in my main URLs file, I'm also going to have to say which path I can use to access each app. So here I'm going to say that my pages app, because I want that to be my home page. So I'm going to just say that's going to be at the root app. Yeah. I need to put include here so I can include the URLs from my pages app. So it's going to route me to my pages app when I go to the home route. So I think what I do, if I remember correctly, yeah. So it auto-completed, so I guess that was good. So here I can do include is Python with templates. Yeah. So basically, Django is Python with templates, but I'm going to be using Django REST framework as well, which is generally what I use all the time. And that, of course, you can make a REST API with it. So then you can have a detached front end and use Vue.js or any other framework that you prefer, but I prefer Vue.js. So include, and then I'm going to say apps dot pages here. Oh yeah, dot URLs. Include the URLs from the pages app. And that will bring me to apps.pages.urls file here. And then I need some URLs here. So what I'm going to do, because I still need URL patterns. So no, actually, the funny thing is, I've been working in a little bit of Preact this year, which has the same API as React. And I'm also starting this app for a client maybe next week that's working in React. So it's not like I don't work with React or think it's terrible or anything. But I just, I prefer Vue for many reasons. But you can listen to my own streams on my own channel if you want to hear those reasons. I won't talk about them here. Okay, I don't need admin.
Okay, I love everything controversial, so don't worry.
Okay, good. I still won't talk about them. But what is this? Oh yeah, so here I need to change a couple things. So this is the URLs. If this is confusing, I'm updating the URLs file inside my Pages app, and I need to give it a route. So I'm saying I don't want any additional route on it. I need to give it a view file, which will render something to the page when a user goes to that route. So I'm going to import my views in just a second, but I'll basically import views.index. And then I think the third one is name. And here I'll just give it a name, which is home, I guess. Okay, so views.index. Now I need to import from dot, so from the same directory, import views. Okay, and now I need to create this function here. So I'm going to go into my views here, get rid of that. And so you can create two different types of views in Django. You can create class-based views and function views. So if the views are doing almost nothing, I just create a function for my views. If the views are more complex, then I always use class-based views. So here, I'm going to do def index, and then I can't remember what I extend from here. I'll have to look that up. But begins with R, ends with JS. Let's see, def index, and then I'm going to return basically a page here. I'm going to render some kind of template that I'm about to make. So I need to, let me just look this up real quick, the syntax for this. So let's look up, let's see, Django, I guess function views. Writing views. Yeah, so def, oh yeah, so of course it's a function, so I'm not extending another class. So I do get access to request though. So I can accept request here, the request object, and then I can return some kind of HTTP response, but I do want to render, I think I want to render, call the render function, which will render a template. But let me look up the, render request and then the template name. And then I can add a context object if I want here, but I don't want a context object. So I'm just going to render render with just these two arguments. So let me do request, pass the request through, and then I'm going to call my template like home.html, I guess. Okay, so now I have, why is this complaining? Unable to import Django shortcuts. Okay, well, I don't know why my linter. Oh, no, I don't. Why is Flakegate complaining? I don't know why it's complaining. Let me put 2 spaces anyway. So, Django shortcuts render. It seems fine to me. So, let's see. What was I setting up now? That totally threw me off. Okay, so now I have my views. Why is it saying app.pages.views has no index? It does have an index, so maybe my linter's off. We'll see when we run it anyway. Why is this R different? URL patterns. Yeah, my highlighting and stuff is all off right now. This R is like highlighted purple and the rest of the word is gray. All right, anyway, so let me, now that I have my view done, I need to create my template. That's right. And actually, I could create my templates folder anywhere, but I think I'm going to create it inside my apps folder. So let me do templates here. Oh, wait, that's a file. Let me do a folder. Templates. And inside this templates folder, I'm going to create a new file and call this home.html. I wonder why JS doesn't have similar syntax for importing files. I don't know. My VS Code drank beer. Yeah, something is up with my VS Code, and it hasn't happened before I came on this channel. So I don't know what's going on. I have some boilerplate HTML that I got before the stream. This is actually from, forgive me, this is from a Vue.js project I'm working on, so I'm going to erase this. So let me call it, I don't know.
That won't start arguments at all.
Okay, Kodu with the symbol over it. Cats. Okay. So let's see. I don't know. Put a welcome there. To make it big on the screen. Oh, it auto completed. So let me paste that. There we go. Vim is really nice to work with. Okay, so and now I have home.html. I have my templates folder. That's all good. I do need to add, and I know I've made quite a few changes since I last ran the app, so I'm sure there will be a few issues when I run it. But now that I have my templates folder, I have to go back into my settings.py again and tell it where my templates are. So here I have to tell it that I have a templates directory that's not just the regular root directory because I put it inside apps. So I need to, let's see. You're still good on time, right? We don't have to get off?
Oh, no, we're fine.
Okay, because I can spend a long time doing this.
No, don't worry. Like, if you fire on, like it's more when you get sick of doing this that I'll have to give up. That's all.
Okay, cool.
I'm at your mercy.
Okay, so here, I tried to include all the configuration options I thought I might need to copy paste later. So, yeah, so I have DIRs now, and let's see. Oh, what am I doing? I already have DIRs. Okay, so let me go here. There we go. I need to import OS, though. I don't think, yeah. I need to import OS from Python. And that should work. Now I'm telling it to look inside my apps/templates folder for templates. And it sees my home.html template. And then that should allow me to render it in my view here, that home.html. So let me see if this works. I have too many things open. Let me try to run the app, see what happens. Run server. Looks like a lot of configuration. Yeah. I mean, that's what apps are. Sometimes you do that configuration up front, and sometimes you do that, as you're going along.
But even, I think it's always a smart way to do it. Even if you're doing something like HTML and CSS, if you put down like your variables and things first, and the things are going to be there, it's going to speed up the process later. So you don't have to go back and search it every time.
Yeah. Proper Irish. Yeah, I actually traced my ancestry on ancestry.com, and pretty much every relative I've had came from Ireland, except my great-grandfather was Welsh. Yeah, so I am somewhat distantly related to being Irish. I tried to get Irish citizenship, but they said that I needed to prove that a grandparent was a citizen, which is unfortunate because I don't have such evidence. So, oh well.
I would just say it might not make sense to you, but for anyone that's Irish here, all you'd need is a night out in Coppers, and that would get you citizenship. Coppers is a local nightclub in Dublin.
Oh,
so
I don't even want to know about that. I did. Yeah, I went to. Even though I don't drink, I went to quite a few bars when I was in Dublin.
They kind of force you here, don't they?
Yeah. And you know what's funny is that I met some people. I didn't think they spoke English at first, but they spoke English. They were from Southern Ireland, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. And then I realized, oh, they're speaking English. So
yeah, it's just our accent. That's all.
Yeah, but you're completely understandable, and you have a nice accent that
you're just saying that because you're being nice. Plenty of people can't understand me.
Really?
Yeah.
No, Americans like other accents, but when I ask my friends from the UK and places about my accent, then they say it sounds nasally and weird. Now I can't remember what I was doing. I'm just clicking on things. Okay, so I have my template. I have everything. Was my app running? Yeah, my app's running. Okay, let me look at the app, see what happens. Yay! I got my template working. Okay. So it's kind of like the meme, all that configuration to get one line of code displaying. Welcome to let me copy this. Okay, go to Cat's API. And then I'll put a paragraph. Try out this endpoint. And then, yeah, it'll be some kind of a link. So it's going to be this. This is the endpoint that I'm about to create. So I'm going to create an A tag. I'll put it in the next line. So in A tag with href localhost and then /API/reads. Oh yeah, I should wrap this whole thing in that. Yeah, why don't I do that? Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it here. And no, that's not what I want. Oh, I yanked it. I didn't copy paste it. Okay. There we go. So now it will take me to this API endpoint, but I don't have the API configured yet. But this page is configured, so that's a good thing. In an hour and 20 minutes, I have the home page working. So now I'm going to set up the second app, which I'm not going to use a template for. I'm actually going to use Django REST framework. So let's see. Oh, someone said, oh, the people I can understand probably from Kerry. Maybe. I think somewhere around County Cork. Let's see. Why is this highlighting? Like the L is highlighted in purple. This is all very strange. Okay, so now I need to set up my REST API. So I'm going to create the models for breeds. Let me create the breed model. Locations is something, if I had time later, because I wanted to show how to do nested resources in a REST API, which is another package that you kind of add on to the Django REST framework, which is also really nice. So let me add a model for breeds. Let me get out of this, get out of that, get out of pages. I just want breeds. Did I add a URLs file? Nope, I didn't. So let me add a new file, call it urls.py, and I'll set that up in a second. Let me set up the model first. So Django models, this is basically what, oh yeah, I already did one with users, I guess. But basically you set up the fields for the database table in here, and then you make a migration for it, and then you migrate, and it creates the table in the database. So these are classes. So I'll do class, the name of the model, which is, for my schema, singular. So breed, and then I have to extend models.model from Django. And now, let me, okay, I guess I didn't need to do that, but that's fine. Now I need to set up all of the different fields. So I have the name field, and I'm going to have to tell it what kind of field it is. So I have to do models dot, the autocomplete is so nice. So char field, and for char field, I think it's required to give it a max length. Anyways, I would want to do that. So max length equals 100 characters here. And then for origin, oh, what am I doing? Get rid of that. I have to do an equal sign. Okay, so origin, or this is the cat origin. So if you don't know, I'll post this in the chat. I've been looking at cat breeds on Wikipedia, and so they had this chart here about different cat breeds. So all of these are basically, actually all of these are text fields. So I guess I could use char fields for all of these because I don't expect anything is going to be even 100 characters. I guess origin sometimes is a little bit longer. So I could do models dot char field here, max length equals, let's say 255. Body type, cat's body type. This is just a lot of typing. Max length equals 100, and then coat length. Let me just get rid of coat length for the stream. I think this is good enough. Models dot char field max length. Okay, that's good enough. And we can always migrate and add things later on, which is super easy to do in Django. Okay, so now I have this model that I made. And what do I want to do with it first? So the first thing I want to do is make a migration for the model. So let me do, and new stuff keeps popping in my head. I'm trying to stay focused here. So let me do python manage.py make migrations. I should only have, yeah, I only have that one migration for breed. So that created this migration file for me in the breeds app. By the way, ID is automatically created for me. And it just uses the standard like auto increment ID for Postgres. So that's why I don't need to add it here necessarily. I think you do if you're using some databases maybe. Or maybe Django just handles that for you in every database. But let's see. Name, origin, body type, pattern. Yeah, so I already ran the migration. Everything worked okay. So now I'm actually going to add this to the admin area. And I'm actually going to look up the syntax for this real quick, because I basically want to have access to add breeds and stuff here in the admin area. So, oh, and I should do that for users as well. So let's see. There's so many different things. Let me just click on one and see. Let me go to admin, automatically generated admin site. So I need an admin. Actually, I need to look for the admin.py file. So, okay, here it is. I need to register the model in the admin interface. And I'm not going to do, well, actually, I am going to do something custom. So let me just import. So I need to import the model first. So I need to import, from models, import, what was the name of the model? Breed. Okay, import breed. And then I can use this admin.site.register real quick. And let me get rid of this. And now I can register breed. And I'm going to do something custom in a second, but let me see if that works. So let me do Python manage.py. What was I doing? Oh yeah, run server. So let me run the server and check out the admin area. And cool, it added breeds here. But column breeds of breed origin does not exist. Okay, so in order to get this working in the admin area, I believe I still need to add a configuration class. So class breed admin. And I can't remember what that extends, but I'll add that in just a second. And then I might be missing something else as well. So let's see, breed admin. And let me look at customizing. Okay, I'm done with that. Let me look at models, import question. Then you can explore the admin area. Date time char field. Change pub. Oh, this is in the initial tutorial here. So I think what I need to do is do, let me just search for custom admin, or I could just look at one of my other GitHub repos. Oh, wait, I need Django. That's a bunch of weird stuff. Django admin site. Here we go. Let's see. Oh yeah, it extends admin.modeladmin. That was it. So here, I need to extend that class and .register. That looks good. And here, there are a bunch of, in this admin class that I'm using, there are a whole bunch of options that I can set. Fields, this is the one I want. So let me do a fields option here. Is everything clear so far? I'm just kind of getting carried away.
Yeah, I think everything makes sense.
Okay, cool.
And
So
I'm sure nobody in my YouTube chat is usually quiet. So if it wasn't, they'd be letting you know. Don't worry.
okay, cool. Unless everyone's too confused to know what to ask. So let's see, fields equals, but I think Django is pretty straightforward overall. Fields, what fields? I have name, origin, body type, pattern. Name, origin, body type, pattern. Okay, so I'll just add all these fields. And these are actually the fields that will display on the table. So name, origin, body, I think it's body type. And, oh, these need to be strings. Pattern. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I have breeds admin here. There is one more thing that I do need to do in the model, but I thought that it would run without me doing that. Oh wait, now it's a new error. That's good. Okay, well it's running. And now if I go to admin, I can go to groups and that's okay. But if I go to breeds, it's saying breeds breed dot name column breeds breed origin does not exist. Okay, so I'm going to have to look in the database to figure out what's going on here, because the migration that I ran seems to work okay. Or did I actually run migrate? Let me make sure here. I think I just made migrations. I think I'm forgetting to do some things. Okay. No migrations to apply. Okay, so it already did that. Can I take a break for like 2 minutes and come right back? Are you
Yeah,
there?
absolutely.
Okay, so you guys can just talk and have fun. I'll be right back.
For sure. Hold on, let me remove you. And everyone will have to listen to me for a minute. Okay, so if there is any questions, you can start lining them up now in the chat. And also, if I'm going to put up, while Gwen is away, I'm going to put up her Twitter. And if you can tweet at her something, whoever has the funniest meme tweeted at Gwen, well, she's not here anyway, I will send them a t-shirt as well. I have my new Crackogs Code t-shirts with the kind of background print on it. So let me put her Twitter handle in the chat. Yeah, ask me all the Django questions. This is how well this will go. Praveen, have you still not gotten one of these t-shirts yet? That is a shame at this stage. And no difficult questions. I'm usually ready for people to try and trip me up. Class in the admin for each of the app you create. Good question. That's all I can say about that one. I'll have to actually double check. I have only used Flask for building Python before, and that was years ago at this stage. I kind of exclusively use JavaScript for my production applications now. So it's nice to see this in action, really. And yeah, so on the class, I'm going to search that right now. Let me know. I think my audio is slightly better now as well. I think I just had it turned down at the volume really low. So let me know if it's slightly better. Elixir is very cool. I remember when, what was the name of that site? Was it Code School that was bought? They used to have an Elixir course on that. I did that about 5 years ago. I think Pluralsight bought their courses. But yeah, the Elixir was very interesting. I think with WebAssembly and with that coming in, I think it'll be interesting to see what you could do with something like Rust or C++ now and add it into the language. I'm not sure if JavaScript can be defeated as just a straightforward language. Yeah, Elixir is a very interesting one. I am so amazed as well about how Django can just kind of be bootstrapped and pushed in that easily as well. Just how, like, that admin panel, I usually have to do them in JavaScript or Express myself, and they're just a pain. So seeing how effortless it is to get that kind of thing up and running is, yeah, that's pretty cool. Not in the near future. Yeah, so especially if you have any React memes, they're probably the best ones to send Gwen on Twitter. Just for the sake of it. How could, you know, let me see if I can find anyone to send as well. I'm going to do it while I'm off in the background in a minute as well. Oh, I think. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
I think actually I fixed my audio as well. It turns out for the last 3 months, I've just had it turned down and loop back. So
That's funny.
Yeah.
Glad I could help you fix your audio.
Yeah, so I was able to test that out. All right, I'll leave you continue. Do you know? We have a question actually.
Yeah.
While you're gone, on the class in admin, I'm new, but do you have to create a class in the admin for each of the apps you create?
No. You don't. So you can just, like I had before, you can just, get rid of this and just register your model class in the admin area. And oops, what did I just do? And that will be totally fine. But you will want to create a class here because as you're going to see the table view and some of the other options, you're going to want to set options here in the admin area. And you'll see this as soon as I get this working. Plus this class is just configuration options. So there's nothing advanced here. It's just like setting what fields you want on the display table. And if you want to make any of the fields searchable or sortable or, some of those things. And then it can be more advanced if you're getting into like foreign key relationships and stuff like that.
I think there's only one more question then.
Okay.
That's probably relevant other than what was going on while you were gone.
What was going on?
It just went off. I was getting asked Python questions, or Django questions, which was going to go off. I was just, yes, good question. For someone who hasn't touched any backend, are there key aspects to learn before jumping into a framework?
Yeah, so whatever language, I guess. You have to learn a language first. Like if you're going to use JavaScript for Node or like Python for Django. If you're just jumping into backend for the first time, I'm not sure I would start with Django. I think Flask might be a better place to start, or Express, or, a lighter weight framework. And you're going to learn a lot more by building your first kind of test project and kind of bootstrapping it yourself. If you're building for clients, then I would say that Django might be a good option to start with. But is there anything you need to learn? I don't think there's anything you really need to learn. You just learn a language, and I recommend starting with a lighter weight framework. Basically, any one that lets you just, Flask lets you copy paste like 5 or 6 lines of code and you have a web server running. And then after that, you learn, okay, this is how I render templates and build different endpoints. And then you get into database and you kind of learn one thing at a time. Versus Django, you kind of have to already have a little bit of backend experience, I think, before you can understand everything that Django is doing for you out of the box. Yeah, did that make sense? What do you think, Niall?
Yeah, I think this is a very common question from anyone that is coming, say, from a front end perspective. It's always a very scary black box. Where you just don't understand how it all formed. And I think it's one of those things, if you're comfortable with a language, it's a lot easier to pick these things up because at least that abstraction isn't something you're trying to learn on the way.
Yeah, I agree. I want to open a database client and see what's going on in my data.
Excellent. I'll stop annoying you for a minute.
It's causing my issues. I just have to check real quick. I'm going to close that. Just 1 second. I'm going to check and make sure I don't have any databases here that I don't want to show on screen. Okay, so I do have Koducat here. And let's see. And if I can't get this working, then I might just drop the whole database and do the nuclear option. But okay, so I'm going to bring this back on screen. So I'm using dbeaver here. There's actually a database client that I like better, but I forgot to finish updating it before the stream. So I'm not using that one. But basically, these are my tables. Oh, I can't zoom in, I guess. But I have my, let's see, I'm users _user table. So basically how Django does tables is that it takes the app name and then gives it an underscore model name. So the user's app has a user model, so it's users _ user. These Django ones, Django underscore, are the built-in tables for like the admin area, migrations, sessions, stuff like that. Breeds _ breed for my breed model is this. And okay, so all I have here is an ID and a name. So I don't know why. So I guess that migration, I don't know, but it only has 2 fields. So I'm going to have to undo my migration. So I have to undo this migration here. So I'm going to do, and the reason I can't just delete the migrations file because the migration has already been run and already logged in Django. So I have to undo the migration that's already been run. So before I delete the table. So I'm going to do Python manage.py migrate, and then the app name, which is breeds. And then I think I can do 0 here. Yeah, it says unapplying that initial migration here. So if I wanted to unapply, if I had many migrations, I wanted to unapply to a certain point, I would just say unapply until the name of the specific migration. But if I want to unapply all migrations for the app, I just put 0. Okay, so now I unapplied all migrations. So I'm going to delete this table real quick. I'm going to delete this table. That's good. Did it work? No, it didn't delete. Are you sure you want to delete the table? Breeds.breed doesn't exist. Oh, maybe I have to refresh. Oh, right. That's right. Okay. When I undid my migration, it uncreated the table, or it removed the table already. So that's why I said it didn't exist. So now I should be able to run. I don't need to create another make migration. So I don't need to create the migration because it already exists. The file already exists. So now I can just do migrate all migrations in the breeds app. Okay, now it should, so let me refresh my database. Now I have breeds _ breed again. Okay, so now I have all the fields there. That's good. And now, let me go here. Oh yeah, let me run my server. So now I can run manage.py run server. Yeah. Okay. More than learning any other language like Python, you need some theory on how the backend server works and communicates with the front end. Yes. I agree. Okay, good. Now it's working. It was just my own database faults. Okay, so now I have this breeds. I can see my breeds model. And I think this is just over here. Oops. Oh, yeah. Anyway, that sidebar. I'll just leave it there. So now I can add a new breed, which takes me to, and this is all, this is all set up by default out of the box with Django. I have this whole area where I can, do CRUD operations for anything in the database, which is so convenient. And there's so many more plugins too that you can add to this admin area, Like one of these projects I've been working on for a client uses a CMS plugin, which makes it a bit more pretty if non-technical clients are going to be logging into this admin area. So there's a ton of different customizations that you can do. You can even customize this entire admin area using well-documented methods by upgrading or changing the Django templates. So anyway, let me get the first breed here. Finally, the first breed. Abinian. Okay. So origin, what's the origin? Asia. No, it's natural. Natural, body type, semi-foreign. Where is it? Oh yeah, because some of them are artificially bred. Body type, semi-foreign. I don't know what that means. Okay. Coat length, pattern, ticked tabby. Anyway, I'm not going to do pictures yet. So I'm going to save this. And now you can see I have this table here. This table which shows all my breeds, but it says breed object 1, which is weird. And that's because from my model, I don't have a string method telling it what to, or the default field to show. So I need to define a method here, string, and I need to return something. So I'll do self, or did it already populate self.name? That's cool. Okay, so I need to do return self.name. And now if I refresh here, yeah, it says the name here under breed. Okay, so now if I go to admin, it should say all of these like name, area, body type, and pattern. So I don't actually know why it's not showing all of these here. So let me think. So I have a breed admin. I'm extending admin models.admin. Let me see if I can do other customizations, because these fields here should show, they should display all of these fields on the table. That's what this fields attribute is for. So let me keep going down. I think, let me try some other customization. So there's also a search. Let's see. Search fields. Okay, here we go. So I can do search fields, and let me see if this one works. Okay, so search fields will do, let's see. Okay, we'll allow search by name. So let me just say name. It's a tuple, so I'll add the comma. And let's see. Yes, okay, sweet. So I do have a search box here. So I can search. So, and it will say, oh, ASY. So I think it is case sensitive. I could change that if I wanted to. But if I start searching for this, then it won't come up with anything. Okay, so search works. And so you can kind of see all the attributes here. There are a whole bunch of different ones that you can add here. But I'm just going to add search for now. And action, you can also delete, or you can add other actions to this menu. So I don't know why. So for breed, it's saying, or it's not giving me the custom fields in the menu. So I think I'm not doing the right menu option. If anyone knows what menu option I'm missing, then let me know. Let's see. It's got to be fields. There's search fields, and then I might just look at one of my other repos. Read-only fields. It's not a read-only field. There's lots of search fields. Let me actually look. So on my GitHub, Gwen F, I've done a lot of different repos, but I'm going to go to my organization, Free Code School, this student management system. This is also a Django app. I'll go ahead and post it in the chat here. And okay, cool. Let's see. So let me go into my apps. You can see I structure all my Django apps the same way now. So let me go into apps and I'll go to, what's a good app to look at? Let me look at volunteers and see. Okay, so I do have the admin area set up here. List display, that's it. I knew something was wrong. Okay, so this is all wrong. This is list display. Okay, now it should show up. Yes, okay, this is good. So now all the fields show up. I just had the wrong idea here. Okay, so that's all the customization I'm going to do for the admin area. My Apple Watch is telling me to stand up and walk around, but I'm going to ignore it for right now. Oh yeah, thanks, Code Django. I don't know how much the delay is in chat, but I just saw those. So unfortunately, I think the delay on YouTube is like sometimes 15 seconds, which is unfortunate. Hi, Chris Dixon. Thank you.
And you actually see it about 5 or 6 seconds ahead of me, which is funny.
Oh, really? That's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my gigabit internet. I don't know. Let's see. What was I doing? Oh yeah, admin.site.register breed. Oh, if you're looking at it directly in your streaming app, I'm looking at it through the YouTube. I have a YouTube window open so I can see the chat pop up. So maybe that's why it takes.
Probably why.
Yeah, it takes a few extra seconds. Not that YouTube prefers my internet. Okay, so I did that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. What do I need to do next? I don't know. This is the same file. By the way, if you're just joining, this repo with all the steps that I'm going through is linked in the description below. So, okay, I set up the admin interface, set up models. Oh, views. I do need to set up API views. So this is where I need to install Django REST framework, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and do that because I'm going to need that. I'm going to need the REST framework router in my URLs file because I want these routes here. And what's nice about Django REST framework is that for every resource route I create, like API/breeds, it creates an item route too. So I can get the individual items. This is kind of an interesting app because like you saw, I already did a template for the landing page. So it's kind of a mix of Django and Django REST framework. But yeah, it works well together. So now I need to install Django REST framework. So let me I already had the docs open. Let me get out of some of these things. Get out of this. Okay, those are my two apps. This is the Django REST framework docs. And they also have lovely docs for the most part. Unless you get into more advanced things, then I've had to figure a couple things out. But let's see. Installation. So pip install Django REST framework. I'm already in my virtual environment, so I'll just install it here. And now I'll do another pip freeze. And that should be in my requirements file. Yeah, Django REST framework. Good. And now, yeah, that's it. The only other thing is I need to add it to my installed apps here. And then URL patterns, if I want to do use the REST framework URLs for auth or something, but I'm not going to add those URL patterns because I won't be using them right now. So I'm going to add this to my apps here. So I'm going to add it REST framework. Okay. And now I have the REST framework, which works on top of Django. So you have to have Django installed already. Like it says, it requires Python and Django to be already installed. So what's next? What's next? Okay, so that's installed. So I'm going to run my server, and that's running. And now I need to install, so my endpoints, my REST endpoints will be inside of breeds here. So I need to add them inside of my URLs file. So let me go and see if I can get, okay, an example. Don't need that. Don't need that. I was going to try to get an example, but I think I just need to get to the docs here. So let's see, development, contribution. Let me go back to the homepage and see, where are the docs? Why did I lose the docs? Support, quick start example, requirements, funding. Yeah, let me find Django REST framework docs. Django REST framework.org. I'll just go to serializers. Okay. So this is fine. Oh, I guess I can search for whatever I want to search for. So I'm going to go to routers. So I'm going to go to not the nested routers yet, but just a regular router. So let me see. Existing third party. I just want a regular router here. Oh, this is under third party packages. So still didn't find the right thing. Let me go to router again. How about using routers? Okay, here we go. So this is just the default router that comes with Django REST framework. Cool. So I'm going to copy paste this first and then see. Okay, so just a basic URL pattern. I'm going to update that in a second. Let's see, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this from snippets. So I'm going to do from the current directory, import views. So I'll render those to my routes. From REST framework dot routers, import default router. So I'm creating a router from Django REST framework. And you'll see in a second that sets up quite a few things for me versus just using a regular Django route. Because you can, just from a regular Django route, Django has a built-in HTTP response object, not even a JSON response object. So you can just return Django response object, but this does a lot. Using the Django REST framework has a lot of benefits. So that's why I'm using it here. So let me do this. Views, snippets, view set. So what am I going to call this? I'm going to call the first one breeds. So I'll call this views.breeds view set, and I need to go ahead and create this actually. And include path. Okay, I'm using all those. I have my URL patterns. Now I need to go into my views and create a view here. And so with Django REST framework, so with Django, I could just create, where is it? Just one simple function here or a class, and hook that up in my URL to go use the logic from that function or class. But with Django REST framework, it gives me a serializer. So I'm going to create a serializer, and then I'm going to create my view function. Okay, so I wonder if, okay, it doesn't have, this is just talking about URLs. So I wonder what happens if I do, there is no next. It says that this is number 6, but I wonder if I get rid of this in the URL. Oh, 404. Okay, so let me look for serializer then. And it's been 2 hours already. So I think we can go another 30 minutes or so. Oh, these are third-party packages, not what I want. So why am I having so much trouble? I guess because I usually just use the search engine to search for what I want in the REST framework docs instead of the actual documentation site. So let's see. Serializers, declaring serializers. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So create a simple object, comment. So comment serializer, define the fields. Okay, so basically, I think just to speed this up, I'm going to get a serializer from one of my previous projects. So I'll post this in chat again. This is one of my previous projects. Okay, thanks, Praveen. But basically, you can see I have the views file here. Oh no, I don't actually do views in this app. Let's see. Lectures, projects, utils, volunteers. I know I do in users. I think my users is quite a bit more complicated though, but I can take a look at it. So in views, yeah, so I have serializers, a serializer which extends this serializers.model serializer, and this is what I get from the Django REST framework when I import serializers from REST framework. So I'm actually going to import these two things from the REST framework, and I'm just looking at my old code because I won't have to search around the documentation for what's the import and then what's the serializer, and then also I need to, oh, these are all serializers. I need to make a view set here. Not doing permissions right now, so I'll just do a view set. So let's see. From REST framework, import those two things, and then I'm going to create a serializer class, which will be breeds serializer, and then that will extend from serializers dot, what did I say it was? Model serializer. Okay, that'll be a serializer for my model, and then basically I will also create a class which will be breed. Let's see. Oh, breed. I'll call it. Should it be breeds? No, it should be breed. Yeah, because the model is singular. So, so this will be breed view set actually, and then this will extend from view sets dot which one? And actually, I'm gonna model view set. Yeah. So I'm gonna look at this in the docs because there are a couple different options that I can use for that. So, okay, so these are the two classes that I need basically. And then, oh, get rid of that. And then in my URLs file, I'm going to, oh yeah, I already called it breeds view set. View set. Okay, so I'm gonna keep the pattern here and, oh wait, replace with the capital S. Yeah. Okay. So I have all this set up. That's all good. And now I'm going to set up my serializer really quickly. And I think if I just search for model serializer, yes, wait. Did it go? Okay, it did go, but the modal didn't close for some reason. Okay, model serializer class provides shortcut that lets you create a serializer class field for a specific model. So I basically need to nest a class inside a class, this meta class, and this is a special class that Django gives me, and then I can put attributes on that class for the serializer, basically because I'm extending model serializer, so that gives me a lot of stuff set up under the hood, if that makes sense. Okay, so I need to tell it which model I want to use for the serializer. So I'm going to import the model. So, oh yeah, let me create the class meta first. And what was the model? Model equals breed. And let me go ahead and import, or let me do from period import, no, from models. Models import breed, Okay, so now I have the model set. And then what was the next one? Oh yeah, fields on the model. So I'm gonna, let's see. I might be able to use, let me see if I can use fields equals, let's see, underscore all. That might be able to return all fields. We'll see if that works. And oh yeah, I guess I don't need the trailing comma there. Okay, and now I have the model and I have the field set. And if all doesn't work, then I'll just do individual fields. And now for the breeds view set, I need to set a couple attributes here as well. So let me search for view set. Wait. View set? Okay. So they have different kinds of view sets that you get from the Django REST framework. So there are several. Like here, I'm doing model view set because I'm just using it pretty standard with the breed model. But there's all different kinds of ones that you can do, and you can use the API view set to make it custom and do whatever you want with the class, basically. Chris Dixon played around with Django a long time ago. Don't remember anything. Django is one of those frameworks, like if you don't use it consistently, you will forget. The API is so massive, it's hard to remember all of these commands and, configuration options and everything else that you need to remember. It's like I remember working with Rails, and then if I didn't work with it for a little while, I forgot everything. There were so many, the API is so massive. Yeah, I like Flask a lot. Let's see. Oh, you tried Next.js. I've used Nuxt, which I really like. It's similar. I think it's really, really similar. Let's see. Account view set. Okay, so I got the view set. Oh yeah, I need to define a query set. This is a required attribute that I need. And then I also need to set the serializer class. Permission class I don't need right now. I'm not going to set permissions, but I'm going to grab these. Okay, so this will be my model query set. So I'm going to query. We didn't even really get into querying models, but the Django ORM lets you do things because Django nicely has this ORM built in, so you can query the database using Python. So you can do like breed.objects.filter.all. You can build a query and do all sorts of things with it. So it's really nice to have that built in and working with Django out of the box. So, okay, so serializer class is the class that I just created above, which is the breed serializer. And I think that's all I need to get this working. So for breed view set, there are other things that I can customize. I thought it would show me the API here. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. There's several functions or methods that I can define. Yeah, I can define list, create, retrieve, update, partial update, or destroy if I want to customize any of these actions. Otherwise, it will give me CRUD operations out of the box. So just by setting which query set I'm talking about and the serializer, I can use CRUD operations on it. So, okay. So am I running my server? Yeah, I'm running my server. So let me try this out. Now I'm back at localhost 8000. Oh yeah, I didn't actually set up this URL in my app. So I need to go into my settings file now. And this is where I might get errors. So I have the page's URLs, which is why I can see the home page here. But I don't have in URLs for the API. So for right now, I want to set that as API/breeds. And which app? That's the breeds app. URLs. Let's see. Did it crash? Oh, I didn't like this though. It has, okay, apps.breeds.views has no attribute. Breeds view set. Views.breeds view set. Did I spell it wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Let's see. Okay, so I'm in breeds view set. Import from the current directory, import views. Oh yeah, I made it singular. So let me do that and see if that works. Yes, my server's running. Okay, this works. Now if I do just /API, it should tell me. Yes, so this is one nice thing about Django REST framework. If you're on, I think this is only for, debug. When you're in debug mode, so when you're in local development, it will show you all of the URLs that you have access to on this 404 page. So I can do API/breeds. And oh yeah, it's telling me all is not valid for breed. That's fine. I can just do individual field names. So I'll do name, and then what else? I can do origin, body type, pattern, origin, body type, pattern, and then I will want the ID as well. So this is one thing, if you're building a front end application and you're requesting things, you almost always want the ID as like a unique field for these. So you have to tell it you want to return the ID as well. So hopefully that just works. And yes, it just worked. And you can see I go to API/breeds and it returns this JSON object for me. So it will return all the JSON objects. So let me add, actually I can add them down here now. I can add a new breed. It gives me this form in development out of the box. But if you were deploying this to production, this would just return JSON, not this whole page here, of course. But I can add, let me add one more breed here. Let me do American bobtail. I like bobtail cats. Okay, origin is United States. That's not surprising. Oh wait, no, it's mutation. Cobby is the body type. Cobby, and what's the pattern? Is, pattern all. Oh, I guess you can have any pattern. So you could have tabby pattern or whatever. Post. Yes. Okay. It worked. So post worked. Okay. Now let me make another get request to breeds.
Feature to have that little form there, so you can just throw data in.
Yeah, and then technically you didn't even have to set up the admin area like I did for breeds, because you could do it over here. But eventually you'd want an admin area anyway for this, because you'll only have this form in development. You can have the admin area in staging and production and everything. Yeah, so here you can see if I did go to API/breeds, I get the whole list back. And this is nice that Django REST framework gives me this out of the box. But what's even cooler is that I can go to any item ID now. I can go to like item 2. Oh, come on. Oh, it didn't even work. But basically, it lets me go to get any object item. So this is the first time this hasn't worked. So it's interesting that it doesn't work live. So let me see what I have here. So I have /admin. Okay, I have home. API/breeds. Breeds. Current path API/breeds. ID didn't match any of these. So I think my router, something is wrong in my router. Why it's not working. I must have not set it up correctly. Okay, let me get out of that router and let me look in here. So I'm including router URLs. Let me look in my student management site here and see what I have in my REST framework router. Assignments router. Oh, you can ignore this part. That's nested routes. But here I have router, simple router. Oh yeah, this is not, this is REST framework nested. So that's not a good one to look at. So let me see, let me go into these. Let's see. Oh yeah, I'm not in router anymore. I'm in view sets. Let me go back to, oh, this is serializers. Let me go back to routers. I have to go back one more. Third-party packages. Maybe I should just install the nested router, but I shouldn't need it right now. Okay, so I have view sets, binding view sets to URLs. Explicitly, I don't want to do that. I just want to use the ones that work for me already. Okay, that's if I want to do a custom route. Okay, so here's a default router. We actually don't need to design the URL config ourselves. The conventions for writing up resources into views and URLs can be handled automatically. Router.register breeds in the Pages app and Path API in the main app. Let's see. I could do that. I think usually I just leave it where in the main app let's see, because here I might want other API, like I might want another app to be like API / locations or something. So in that case, I don't want just one app to control the whole API. So that's why I did app / breeds here. And then it points to my, I wonder if I need trailing // I don't think that should matter there, but oh yeah, that's what it was, the trailing /. And that's an option that I could set in my settings file if I don't want it to require trailing /. But it does right now, which is fine. So I'll just remember to use trailing /. So now I have my object. Yeah, I wish the error was better for that, saying you should add a trailing /. But now basically I can get whatever object I want by requesting it here. So if I wanted the first class, okay, then not the first class, the first object. Oh, I think I'm getting tired. Yeah, so if I want the first one, and then I can go back and get all of the objects. So the REST framework is really nice that it sets all of that up under the hood. And plus, I already have the admin interface. I have JWT tokens, JWT token auth that the REST framework also provides if I want to use that. Yeah,
control
so
some of them afterwards, like that docs into the README afterwards.
If I want to put it in the README?
Like, yeah, if there's any of those kind of crucial links you think if so many people wanted to kind of go further, like kind of just throw in some essential reading links or that.
Okay, yeah. I think I've already done parts 1 and 2 here of the setup. So part 1, part 2. The last part, which I don't think I'm going to get to today, was to set up nested routes and to set up pagination and then make kind of middleware or utilities for the app. So yeah, are there any other questions about Django as I wrap it up? Quiet. Or the chat is delayed a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure like it's a long stream, so I'm sure a lot of people are tired as well. It's a lot of information, especially if you haven't seen this before.
Yeah.
Like I actually would love to, if you check out your Twitter, you'll see there's a good few memes there already based on this. So,
oh, really? You were memeing me while I was streaming?
No, well, when you were gone, I asked other people to meme you.
Oh, okay. Cool. That's awesome. Have I been memed before? I don't know. So. Okay, so let me, while we're waiting for any questions or something, let me try to push this code to GitHub.
Cool.
So it's live.
And then I've literally a couple of questions for you myself then, and
Okay.
I suppose I'll let you get back to your day. I suppose it's funny for me because it's nighttime here now. It's 8:20 here, and what, 3 there, half 3? Yeah.
Is it? Oh yeah, it's 3:20 already. We started over
Yeah.
2 hours ago.
Yeah. The day flies when you're having fun. This is what happens when you're playing with things you like as well. It's easy to lose track of time.
I can't actually remember with Git. How do I pull it into the same file? So I always start with Git init and then I push to an empty repo. But now that I already have a README here,
If have you cloned that repo?
No.
Or so if you just say git branch on your terminal there, is it synced?
No, there's no Git at all here. But if I do Git init, I'll have a separate Git history. I could do the cheap thing and copy this README locally, just copy paste, and then force push up to GitHub and overwrite everything.
Yeah, we don't want to lose the branch though either, do we?
Let's see, what would I do? Because I'd have to merge the Git histories if I create a new Git history locally. But if I pull, I don't want to overwrite everything I've just done.
Well, if you initialize a place and start a new branch on it, you're going to just push to a new branch. So
yes.
You just
Okay.
call it like step 2 branch and
2-step 2?
Or whatever you want to call it, step 2 or
completed
step 2.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Complete step 2. Okay, so now I'm on a new branch. Now I need to git remote add origin. Yeah, I think I copied it. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so git status. Oh, before I do anything, let me create a git ignore file. Git ignore.
What should not be sent up?
Yeah. So I usually copy paste my git ignores and generate them somewhere.
Yeah.
I think I still will do that. So let me try gitignore.io. They got bought out by somebody. Oh yeah, TopTal, so they can advertise now, but still creates git ignore files. So I have Python, Django.
I have never seen this page.
VS Code. It's great. Just go to gitignore.io and it creates git ignore files for you. Yeah, Mac OS. Let me go ahead and do Vim for good measure. So Python, Django, VS Code, Mac OS, Vim, create, and copy. Oh man. Okay. Let me just and there. Now I have an ignore file. It's already ignoring my venv and my PyCache and all those things. So that's good.
Nice.
I'll do git status, git, and just going to add everything. Apps, config, man. Yeah, that all looks good. Now I'll do git commit -m. I will do first commit. Oh no. No. I forgot the first quote there. Okay. Now I have everything committed. So now let me try pushing -u origin complete step 2. Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Crisis
averted. Yeah. I was like, oh no, I had a complete brain fart there.
No, after streaming for a couple of hours as well, it's okay if your brain is slightly, fried as well.
Yeah, so there's the branch, complete step 2, and I'm going to merge them after the stream, I guess. So I'll post this in the chat.
And if anyone wants to try and get to step 3 and put up a PR, go nuts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if anyone wants to do it for me, that's good too. So
that's the great part about being a community. You can have people. There is some knowledgeable people in the chat, but there's also a lot of new people as well. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. So what do you think, Niall? Do you have any different thoughts about Django? Any different opinions about it?
I'm actually envious that we don't have something like that in the JavaScript ecosystem yet. Like, there's nothing to that standard for sure.
I haven't seen anything. I don't know if there maybe exists some projects that do some of the things, but I haven't seen anything quite as good for client apps.
No, and there's a lot of frameworks coming out now, like Redwood and that are trying to promise it, but it's still, they're just not there.
Never heard of that. Redwood.
They're, like I said, like what everyone's trying to get now is like the Rails of JavaScript. I think that's going to be the new thing, really. For the new people that joined us as well, I'm always curious what got people started. Like, how long have you been coding, or what got you into coding?
Are you asking people in the chat?
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so how long have I been coding? I guess technically since I was a teenager. I was a webmaster for an organization, and then I tried to build RPGs. I was really into Earthbound, like beating it multiple times into it. And so I've tried to build my own RPGs, which were significantly harder to build than I thought they would be. So I always gave up after I created like the second or third town each time, but I had a lot of fun anyway. So then I went to college for software engineering, but I was kind of goofing around, didn't know what I wanted to do, traveling, being young, and not focused on my career. So like 2014 is when I said, Gwen, you gotta get serious about like your career and your life and everything. So I had been trying to learn to code for a while, but I kept like putting it down. I kept taking classes and not quite getting good enough to get a job. I'd started and stopped, stop. So anyway, 2014, I started building Swift apps. 2015, I got into web development, got a job in web development 2015. And yeah, since then, I've done a lot of consulting work for different clients. I've worked at mostly smaller companies. I worked for one enterprise company. Yeah, and then I started a local group to help other people learn to code, which is our local free code camp group in Indianapolis, which is in the US. It's kind of like a mid-sized city here. It's not super exciting, but it's all right. And yeah, I run some coding communities around here. I run a blockchain group too, because I love blockchain. And
yeah, I only seen that on your GitHub earlier when I followed you. Well, I was like, and blockchain. I haven't seen any of those on your YouTube yet.
No, I actually created a second YouTube channel for blockchain, but I only made really one video so far because I've been so busy with this plus consulting. But my future is in blockchain. So I love
future is in blockchain. We're gonna say that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to you for tips on what to buy.
No speculation.
What tech is hot?
No.
Gwen said it. Put all your money in.
No. People come to me all the time. Oh, what coin should I buy? What should I invest in?
Of course.
Yeah, I have ideas. Like, I definitely know which ones I think, but I don't want to give people financial advice and then
it's
lose their money and
your
stuff.
Own money on it.
Yeah. It's definitely different.
And then if you had any starter advice for anyone that's just starting out, was there any kind of crucial advice you got? Like, I know for myself, one of the earlier on, to give an example, so I think one of the pieces I was missing earlier on was just somebody telling me you don't have to have all the skills in a job spec. You can still apply. And I needed to be told that early on.
Yeah.
But like, I know that's really pushed me forward because now I apply for everything and I still get sometimes, get contracts and things out of that. But is there any pieces of advice that you were told early on that kind of pushed you ahead?
Yeah, so a couple things. So if you're looking for your first developer job, whether you're self-taught, especially if you're self-taught, but also if you're coming from a boot camp or any kind of non-traditional background, a lot of companies will automatically reject you because you don't have a degree or you don't have experience. You need one of the two and companies will be all over you. But if you don't have either one, your best chance at getting a job is to network. So what I did, starting in, I think, January of 2015, I started going to coding meetups. I was so awkward and so shy, but I just said, okay, I'm going to go and talk to at least one person. And then I started to make friends after a couple months. And then I would ask my friends to introduce me to other friends. And then what I did was start speaking in front of the room about anything. I wasn't a great speaker. I've gotten a little bit better, but I would just start speaking about technology and have like a little bit of code prepared and some slides. And people were so encouraging. Like if you speak, you're in front of a room, you introduce yourself, everyone knows who you are. And so then I don't have to introduce myself to anybody. And then they come up to me and talk to me, which is awesome. And so I started speaking. I started running my own group later in 2015, like mid 2015, which was the Free Code School group or Free Code Camp group. And from there, I met so many people. And then I started getting people asking me to interview at their company, or, people started coming to me with things because I also had a blog and I was also kind of marketing myself a little bit online. And so it was funny because I went for some interviews even in 2016, and the interviewers had already read my blog, already kind of followed me online. So I would say like networking and marketing is so crucial if you're getting into the industry. I've gotten almost every single job. I don't know of any job that I've gotten that I just cold applied, actually. I can't think of one. Oh yeah, I can think of one, but I won't say anything about that job. But yeah, so even my clients now, like clients, companies, everything, like just everything I do, all of my work, it just comes through meeting people or networking or some of the I guess self-promotion marketing that I've done online.
For sure, like even ourselves talking right now, like this is a conversation that would just never happen if you didn't put yourself out on the internet, or myself included on that as well. It's just, I was able to find, hey, you're also a YouTuber, you probably would like to help me out.
Yeah.
And it's just that extra mile that you've gone that has made you a subject matter expert as well for these topics.
Yeah.
Because you're willing to talk about it.
Yeah. And I think, also one thing I've noticed after working at companies now is that they like to hire through networks because those people usually stay at the company longer. So they always ask their employees. This is something I've actually only seen really at tech companies so much. But they ask their employees like, hey, do you have any friends who are developers? Also because developers are in demand, good developers. So do you have any friends? Do you have anyone you'd recommend? We'll give you a bonus if you can get someone hired on our team. So it's really good to try to befriend other people because then they recommend you for jobs at their company if you meet them at different meetups. And one cool thing is that even if the meetup is not in your desired, I guess, tech stack, so if you're doing JavaScript, but maybe the most active meetups in your area are for Python or .NET or just anything else, still go to those meetups because everyone needs good JavaScript developers. And so you start to network with those people and those companies and show that you're interested in technology and development. And you can get a lot of jobs through those meetups as well. Whereas if you go to just a JavaScript meetup, everyone else is looking for a JavaScript job too. So I found that to be really helpful.
I think that alternative approach is really good as well. A lot of times I go to business meetups because I'm just like, why not go to the source? Go to the business meetups and say you're a freelancer or you build these things, or hey, especially even if you don't have experience, you can say, hey, I can do that for free or for cheap, really, for getting a foot in the door.
Yeah.
And having that experience, as you said, getting one of those boxes ticked.
Yeah. I would say if you're going to do something for somebody, unless it's like a mentorship kind of situation where they're going to mentor and teach you from a coder, I would say don't do anything for free, but, get something in return for it because,
For sure,
your work is valuable. Even if you're new, your work is valuable. And I don't want you to undervalue your work or the client to undervalue your contribution. Even if it's like, you know, I don't know, 10 free dinners at the restaurant or something. Take the money. Yeah.
No, it's important. I am a big advocate for not for understanding that it's a valuable skill set, even if it feels like nobody wants you right now.
Yeah.
It's very easy to fall into that trap, but it's very hard to get out of that trap. Then again, if you're not
Yeah.
used to valuing yourself.
But you can definitely barter and say like, hey, I'm gonna take what was that book? No Degree, No Problem by Joshua Kemp. He wrote it back in 2013 when he learned how to code, going from shoeing horses to learning how to code. But
you need to give me that link afterwards. I haven't read that.
okay, it's a good book. I do recommend the audiobook over the written version, but he has a really good story about how he learned Ruby on Rails, went from making almost nothing shoeing horses to like having a good 70K a year developer job in less than a year. So that was a good book. What was I getting to in that book? Oh yeah, he talks about basically bartering to get your first experience, like your first freelance experience. I think he got like a golf trip or something. Got to he got some free golf or something, but he built a website for somebody in
I
Ruby on
know.
Rails.
I got it through businesses in my beer club. I ran a beer club
You get
before.
beer?
I used to before I was in software. I used to sell fine wines, and I was the resident beer expert. So for all the craft beers, yeah, I had a beer club locally, and I
That's a
just
good
asked
deal for you.
yeah, it was a lot of business owners that came to that because they were the people that would want to also be fancy with their beers. So I often just ask them and say, hey, if you want to do it, I'll do it for $500, and that's how it started for me.
That's really cool. Yeah. I would say, what?
Well, I just seen a hello there as well in the bottom of the chat.
Oh, yeah. I would say when I first started, so actually I was trying to freelance before because I did some WordPress freelancing before I started, got my first job as a professional developer. So like back in 2012, 2013, 2014, and people significantly undervalue just building regular websites. But if you can freelance and call yourself a consultant and build apps instead of websites, you can charge a premium fee. So I would recommend trying to get to that stage, unless you're like specifically a designer and you want to go down the design route, whereas there's other ways that you can brand yourself as an expert. But if you are a coder, I would say don't call yourself a freelancer, call yourself a consultant, and build up a small portfolio and call it app development. If you do app development, you can charge literally like 3, 4, 5 times as much as you would charge as a freelancer. For sure. And people value your work more.
Yeah, and it's also even how you portray yourself, but you are giving that value. Even if you are a really good WordPress developer and you can make your own custom plugins and things like that, you are making apps at that stage. So it's suddenly it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, I guess that's all about branding. We kind of got off track here, but I could talk about this all day.
Interesting. Yeah, look, probably another time I'll annoy you about just having a conversation about these things. Maybe we can have that conversation on your channel or that, because I'm already after stealing you for so long.
Yeah, that would be great if you want to come on my channel.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime. I'd absolutely love it. I've had a pleasure having you here as well. I won't keep you any longer because I realize we're going to end up, if we keep talking, it'll go into 3 hours and everything else.
Yeah, it's okay. I have like 20 minutes before I have a mentorship appointment with someone learning to code. So
okay, well,
should be
then
fun.
We are going to let you go so you can actually have maybe a fresh coffee and a walk so your watch doesn't give out to you anymore.
Yeah. This was great. Oh, hi, Connor. Connor works with me at work, actually, on Django too.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, look, we are going to wrap it up here. Make sure you check out Gwen's YouTube channel, and Gwen will look at some of the memes. I've started putting them ones up from
I forgot about that
into Twitter as well. And Yeah, I will probably send out a few t-shirts. Gwen, you send me on your details as well afterwards so I can get you a Crack August Code t-shirt sent over to you as well.
Sweet.
Yeah, excellent. And thanks a million for coming on.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Have a good
See ya.
night.